Wookiees, Wookiees, Wookiees. We all love Wookiees. And thanks to Shadows of the Galaxy, we can finally make a playable Wookiee deck, and it is fun to use. One thing you may worry about when using the Wookiee deck is, what about the droid attack on the Wookiees? Well, trust me, with this Wookiee deck you can take the fight straight to them and you don't have to worry about it. So that little intro over. Like I said, we're going over today another Star Wars Unlimited deck build, and today we're going to focus on the Wookiees. Because it's a Wookiee deck, it's obvious for the leader, we have to go Chewbacca. And he's a lot better than I thought he would be. So, for those who don't know what he does, his action is you play a unit that costs 3 or less from your hand, it gains Sentinel for this phase. For what this deck is trying to achieve, that is huge. So basically, this deck is trying to stall your opposition out until you can get your big boy Wookiee units out. And once they come out, they cause carnage. But obviously, Chewbacca's a 7 cost, a lot of the Wookiees are 8s and 7s. It takes a long time, so be able to just constantly play these 3 cost or less units with high HP to slow the opposition. It's beautiful. Once Chewbacca's deployed, he has Sentinel and Grit, 2/9. He can turn into a big unit. My favourite thing to do is someone like ambush maul into him, does 7 damage, meaning he then attacks back for 9, you swing 9 into the base. Him partnered with Tarful, which we'll go into later. Because let me tell you, Tarful, I thought he was terrible. No. He is a powerhouse of this deck, which we'll discover later. When it comes to the base, I would like green personally, because like Sundari Peacekeeper within this deck would be unbelievably good. However, to hit the Wookiees, we needed to hit yellow, like our other Chewbaccas and our fugitive Wookiees. With our base and our leader gone over, let's crack on with the ground units. First one off, it's not a Wookiee, but it's a good card, and he knows the Wookiees. We've got R2-D2, only one of these, unfortunately, because I've only got one. I'd advise 2 or 3. This card, combined with Chewbacca's ability to just play him out for 4 health Sentinel for 1 cost, is lovely. And also, he's got a nice when played, so when played or an attack, look at the top card of your deck, you may put it at the bottom of your deck. The reason that's so good is because if your hand's not great, you've mulliganed, you can just look at the next card and think, oh, that'll be perfect for next turn. But yeah, nice card, good health, goes with Chewbacca well, sets you up for the next turn. Because we haven't got any more R2s, we're playing another one off. Now it's Chopper. Like I said, if I had more R2, I'd drop this guy, but his on attack ability can come in quite nice. Is discard a card from a defender player's deck. If it's an event, exhaust a resource. It's just nice to keep getting rid of cards out of their deck, and I found that the opposition actually ends up trying to kill him, because they don't like the ability of doing that. That is our 1 cost units done. We're going to move over to our 2 cost, and with our first Wookiee of the deck, free of Fugitive Wookiee, free with a bounty that lets them exhaust a unit. Bit annoying, but it's a Wookiee you can play, so why wouldn't you? Turn 1, you're just going to play him straight out normally. They do whatever, then you take initiative and you can swing for free. You do need to be careful though of them claiming his bounty and exhausting a unit, but as long as you have a Sentinel out with him, like your R2 or so forth, it doesn't really matter, because that's fine, you want to Sentinel it. But yeah, Fugitive Wookiee, run free of, can get quite a bit of damage in if the opposition doesn't stop him. Our next 2 cost unit within the deck, and I run 2 of them, is Leia Organa. I really like this card within this deck. It has so much playability. So when you activate Chewbacca, and you can play her as a Sentinel, you can then activate her when played, which is exhaust a unit or ready a resource. 9 times out of 10, you're going to exhaust a unit. I love bringing her out on the turns they deploy their leader, because you've got a Sentinel on field, and you can exhaust their leader. So it just stalls so much on them. It comes in clutch. It's some of my biggest plays around the 6 resource turn when I'm waiting for Chewbacca. Just go bang, exhaust 1. Now you have to hit into her, because normally that's at least 2 to attack. She's taken out the game. And yeah, Leia, really like her, but run 2. Our next 2 cost unit within the deck, we run 2 L3s. Really nice card. It's basically Crafty Smuggler, but a bit better. So what this card does is you may return a captured card when it's played. If you don't, give it X shield token to this unit. 9 times out of 10, it's going to come out shielded, but if you do it with Chewbacca, you can have a shielded Sentinel for 2 resources. Ooh, nice. And our final 2 cost unit, this one I might switch out if I had another R2, but it comes in quite nice, is 1 Grogu. He can come in really nice. That 5 health body with Chewbacca is Normally it takes 2 to 3 attacks to get rid of him in early game, and early game when you're just trying to stall out units is lovely. If they don't kill it as well, you can activate his action, which is exhaust an enemy unit. So if you played it turn 1 and claim the initiative, turn 2 obviously they ready theirs up, you go first, play this, exhaust their unit. Can come in really nice. I do quite like him in the deck, but I think I might drop him for R2 if I had one. So we're now going to move on to our free resource cards, and probably one of my favourite cards in this deck, which is a big surprise to me, is our Liberated Slaves. You want to run 3 of them. It is a Wookiee card, as you can see the Wookiee here, and it's got the Wookiee keyword. Honestly, I love this card. 3/5 for free resources is a solid stat line anyway, but you can activate it with Chewbacca, meaning you can play it turn 2 with Sentinel. So you've got a 3/5 Sentinel. Oh, I love it. Honestly, it's so good, especially against your Sabines or other aggro decks, because they normally have to attack into it 2, maybe 3 times. And because it's got free attack, more often than not, at these early stages of the game, it's defeated whatever attacks into it. Solid card, really enjoy it. Opposition at my locals did not like it when I kept Sentinel in this card. But yeah, really good card. Our next free cost unit, another one free off, is our Tree Tender. It's a Wookiee 2/4 with Grit. Yet again, he's another one you can play out with Chewbacca to have a nice Sentinel on him. I'd much rather have the Liberated Slaves out with Sentinel, but he can be quite nice. Especially if they attack into him once and he survives, you can really surprise him, quite a lot of damage within the Grit. He's a nice card. He's okay. But like I said, the Liberated Slaves for me, I'd much rather. But he's a Wookiee, how can you not like him? And look, he's walking with his stick. And to round off our free cost units is a card that's very good in this deck. If I had 2, I would run 2, and that is Tech. Oh, so good within this deck. I'm very biased because I absolutely adore the clones, and once the new set comes out, clone deck is all I'm going to play. But him being able to just smuggle out anything, because you play so many big units within this deck, you end up getting quite a few in your hands, so you end up resourcing them, so to be able to just bring them out with Tech is so valuable. And to be honest, yeah, again, turn 3, you can play a Sentinel with 5 health with Chewbacca. So in a pinch, you can come in lovely. More often than not, I activate Chewbacca's ability, bring him out Tech with Sentinel. They don't finish him off. The next turn, I normally smuggle out a Takedown, or I smuggle out an Entrenched, which we run. And it's, yeah, a really good card. The smuggle mechanic is so powerful within this. If you've got 2, I'd highly suggest running 2. Like I said, if you don't use smuggle, 2/5 is a solid stat line anyway. So that is our 3 cost units done. We're going to move on to our 4 costs. We've got 3 Wookiee Warriors. 2/5 with Grit, I mean, that's alright. But when played, if you control another Wookiee unit, draw a card. It gives us that bit of synergy within the deck. It's part of the reason we can run a Wookiee deck, just because you can play it out, have a card. This plus R2 is such a nice combination. I've done it a few times where I've played R2 with Chewbacca. So he's got Sentinel. I've looked at my top card. I thought, oh, that's quite a good card. Put it on top of the deck. Played Wookiee Warrior, because I've got Liberated Slaves out, and I can just draw that card out. This is another one of those cards, because of Grit, if your opposition isn't prepared for it, it can end up doing quite a lot of damage. Because I like to trade quite often, or into like their Greedos with this card, or something along those lines. So you normally kill it, does 3 damage to it, meaning you then attack for 5, maybe 6 into the next turn. Quite a nice card. Like, don't underestimate it. It can help your deck just flow a lot nicer, especially with that draw power. So that's our 4 cost unit done, and now we're going to move on to the 5 cost, and probably the main man himself, Chewbacca. We run 3 of them. It's a very nice unit. It's 3/6 Sentinel, and he's got, when this unit is attacked, you can ready him. So if he's Sentineled, they attack into him, don't kill him, you can ready up, hit their base. With the new set, his 6 defense isn't as good as it was in set 1, but he's still a solid card that opposition decks really need to think about once he comes out. And especially if you chuck an Entrenched onto him, he becomes a 6/9 who readies up when they attack. Makes them really think. Yeah. And of course, it's a Wookiee deck. We can't run a Wookiee deck with Chewbacca. This guy would hate me if I did that. Okay, moving on to our 6 cost units. We have got Gentle Giant. Only run 2 of them. I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'm not too keen on this card. I don't think it's that good. But it's a Wookiee deck, and it's a big boy Wookiee, so why wouldn't we? He has got 2/8 with Grit, meaning he can get up to 9 attack. And on attack, you may heal damage from another unit equal to damage on this unit. It's nice because it can help the survivability of Chewbacca. So I'm guessing this card is designed for when Chewbacca has a lot of damage on him and he's almost about to be defeated. You can just attack the Gentle Giant, heal him up quite a lot. It's nice in theory, but I just found that it's a bit too slow. Like, it's okay, this card. I don't think it's great. I think the other Wookiees are a lot better. And I can see myself dropping this in future sets when better Wookiees come out. But yeah, at the moment, it's in there and it can surprise your opposition with quite a lot of damage. This card pairs really well with the next card, and I think is probably the best card in the deck, and that is Tarful. Run 3 of them. This card is absolutely insane. When I first started putting together this deck, I didn't think he was that good, but then when I actually played this deck, he is a powerhouse, and he can win games on your own. So, what does he do? So he's a 7 cost 3/9 with Restore 2. Immediately, that's really nice. But this is the main part. When a friendly Wookiee unit is dealt combat damage and isn't defeated, that unit deals that much damage to an enemy ground unit. Boy, honestly, the amount of times Chewbacca has... So the best combo is these two. I'm just straight out. These two out together is the best thing you can do. And normally, because they're both 7 cost resources, you can do it. So, normally, obviously, he's Sentineled. They attack into him. They do like 5 combat damage, right? So that 2 damage immediately goes back to whoever attacks into it. And because of Tarful, you can do that 5 damage back to that unit or any other unit you want. Oh, it's so good. Honestly, Tarful is so good. And because it doesn't say another friendly Wookiee unit or other friendly Wookiee unit, it includes himself. So you can run him into these high value targets on their side of the field. I've done a Darth Maul before. And because he's got 9 health, he survives it. And then he does that damage, that 7 damage from Maul, back onto that Maul or another unit. Honestly, I love this card. It's so good. And the Restore 2 just helps you out. This card's so good. Do not underestimate this card like me. Value it. And he's the Chieftain. Like, how can you not like him? Our next 7 cost unit, we only run one of these. It's a Chewbacca deck, Wookiee deck. We had to run a Han Solo in here just because, you know, it's Wookiees and Chewie, like, it's his mate. And this card can come in very nice. So it does ambush, so we can attack immediately. And then while attacking, this unit deals combat damage before the defender. Whew. So basically, if it's got 6 or less attack, you can defeat it and do no combat damage back to this card. It's so good, especially for popping off like the Mauls or other like Sentinels who may play. Very good card, and it's Chewbacca's best mate. You have to run him. And to round off our units is our 8 cost, and that is Chewbacca. This card is unbelievable. I would highly advise running more, but I haven't got any more, unfortunately. He's 410 with grit to start off with. Like, he can get up to 13 attack. And yet again, him with Tarful. Oh my, your opposition's going to really despise you for running these two. Not just that. When played, you can defeat a unit with 5 or less remaining HP. Like, oh, you have to, like, he's so good. He seems very difficult to pull though. No one of all my friends seem to pull any, but he's so good. Run more of them if you can. 2, maybe even 3. If you want to drop the Han, even though it's Chewie's best mate, yeah, Chewbacca, have to run him. It's a Wookiee deck. Run him. That is our ground units done, and that's going to move on to our space units. We don't run loads of space units, but what we do run, we try and capitalise on the Sentinel ability and the ship's units utility. So, first one, we run 3 restored arcs. Reason we run this card, it's got 3 health. You can play it out with Chewbacca for a Sentinel. Also that restore one, just keep healing away. You'd be surprised how much healing you can get with this card if they just leave it untapped. And because you're trying to stall out the game to get your big units, that healing comes in really, really important early to mid game, because this is very much a late game deck. So that healing's crucial, and it's a free health body. You can Sentinel, it deals with your TIE Phantoms. That is the key part here. We then run another 2 cost space unit. We run 2 Alliance X-Wings. So I did have the Y-Wing in originally. The reason I went for the X-Wing is because with Chewbacca's ability to Sentinel him, I found doing that 2 damage back comes in more clutch for me, because I found the TIE Phantoms at the locals just kind of ran over the Y-Wings and didn't really care about them too much. Like, it wasn't defeating them. But then when I put the X-Wings in, they struggled quite a bit. So yeah, X-Wings, very, very nice. So that's our 2-cost space units done. We're going to move on to our 3-cost space units, and we're going to start things off with 2 Concord Dawn Interceptors. If you've got 3, run 3. This card's nuts. It doesn't really get the combo with Chewbacca because it's already got Sentinel, but it's so good. So when this unit gets +2 when defending, so essentially it's a 3/4 Sentinel in space. So nice, so nice. More often than not, it ends up trading with 2 ships that they control. And like I say, because you're trying to slow the opposition down, just having it sitting there in space is lovely. Like I said, I'd run 3 if I got 3, but I haven't got any. The next one I just wanted to put out there, if I had them, I would 100% play them, but unfortunately I haven't pulled any, and I'm not about to fork out the cash for them. And that is the Millennium Falcon from set 1. That card would be nuts within this deck, because it's a 3-cost as well. If you've got it, run them. Like, drop the X-Wings for it if you got them. Run that card if you've got it. I'm going to round up our space units with our 8-cost, is our Redemption Sentinel. But the main reason is here, so if you are in the late game and it's getting quite close, when played, you can heal up to 8 total damage from any number of units or bases. Then deal that much damage to this unit. It's quite nice, for instance, if you feel like your Chewbacca is about to go down on the ground units and they're starting to overwhelm you a bit, just play it out, heal the Chewbacca. Or you do what I mainly do, and that's heal the base up. But yeah, that is our space units. And now let's move on to our events and upgrades. So for our events and upgrades, we're going to start things off with 1 Spark of Rebellion. I know what you're probably thinking, why only 1? Why not run 3? I just found with 3, there's other cards I like seeing in my hand more. When you're playing the more controlling matchups, run 3 of these. Like, we've got 2 in the side deck. Like, 3 in your controlling matchups is crucial, because this deck really struggles for things like Rival Falls or Super Laser Blast. So being able to snipe those out of your opposition's hand is lovely. But I just found I don't really need 3. What this card's really nice for is if you run like your turn 2, you can go Chewbacca, play R2 as a Sentinel, and then you can play Spark Rebellion and take something from their hand while they still have to hit through your R2, which is actually quite nice. If you want to run more, I can understand running more, but for me, I like the 1. Our next 2 cost is our Entrenched. We run 2 of these. I was running 3 for ages, but I just found 3 is a bit too much. This card is nuts within this deck. So you can either hit up one of your own Sentinels, or, which I like to do, if they've got a pesky unit normally in space that you don't like dealing with, just entrench it so it can't attack their base. So basically, for those who don't know, that's what this card does. Attached units can't attack bases. So 3 things I've really done with this card that's come in beautiful for me is I've attached this to Lurking TIE Phantoms, is really nice, just completely gets them out of the game. I've attached this to, believe it or not, an R2. When I played a Sabine deck, obviously because she comes out 4 resources, I've just gone R2 with this, then they've attacked into it, it survived, and now I've just gone Entrenched. And like, they don't know what to do. And if they leave it, then you've then got a 4/7 R2 just chilling on the field. Like, Entrench is good, and then the final one, of course, is my Chewbacca. They've hit into it, it's getting quite low, you then give your Chewbacca another 3, giving it 12 health. Like, you don't always want to do it to Chewbacca, because you kind of want to utilise Chewbacca's grit, getting lots of damage and attacking into their base. But if you need to, use Entrenched on it. That's our 2 costs done. We're going to move on to our 3 costs. We run 2 Spare the Targets. It's basically Waylay, but better. It's better because you can claim a bounty if it's got a bounty, but for those who don't know what it does, return an enemy non-leader unit to its hand, and then collect that unit's bounties. More often than not, there isn't a bounty to collect, but still just bouncing something to hand is quite nice. Yeah, again, we're trying to just slow the opposition down, so having these cards that do disrupt the opposition, to do slow them down, is what we're looking for to play. We then run 2 Making Openings. Yeah, again, this card is lovely, deals with TIE Lurking Phantoms. So it gives a unit -2/-2 for this phase, and heal 2 damage from the base. Yet again, it's that more healing, as well as a form of removal. Then going to move on to our 4 cost. We've got 2 Takedowns, just that form of removal for us. So defeat a unit, 5 less remaining HP. You can run this, Vanquish, or Slay the Dragon, or Fell the Dragon, whatever you like. I just found like the lower cost, 5 or less units were more of an issue. I found late game their big units weren't too much of a problem because we had our grit, we had our Tarfals. I just found these lower units more of a pain to deal with. So we're now going to move on to our 6 cost events and upgrades, and the first one is technically a 4 cost. However, due to the penalty we have to pay, it's a 6 cost. That is 2 vigilance. I would run free if I had free. This card is unbelievably good. It's one of my favourite cards. I wish I had free. This card can swing games on its own. So, for those who don't know what it does, is choose 2 in any order, is discard 6 cards from opponent's deck, heal 5 damage from a base, defeat a unit with 3 or less remaining health points, or give a shield token to a unit. Oh my goodness. Because you're trying to just stall the game out, the amount of times I've just gone, okay, I heal 5, defeat a unit. See you later. Or if you've got Chewbacca out, another nice thing you can do, give Chewbacca a shield, heal 5, maybe defeat a unit. Like, there's so much utility. This card can save you so much. That healing alone, 5 healing, just with Tarfal and your arcs and your making openings. Like, I've literally gotten to the 7/8 resource turn and had like 4 or 5 damage on my base just because of the amount of healing and they couldn't hit through my sentinels. And then rounding up our 6 costs, we've got 1 Rival's Fall. Just defeat a unit, defeat anything. Good card. Yeah, again, you can drop this for other forms of removal. I just feel like at the moment within blue, you need at least one of these to help just deal with anything they may play, even if it's like a Crate Dragon. So that's our main deck done. Let's move on to the side deck. So, starting things off, 2 Yodas. This is just if you feel like you need more control on the ground and you feel like you need another Sentinel. It's 2/4 Sentinel we can play out. And being able to just draw a card when it's defeated is nice. And yet again, it's got Restore, so it's a nice card just to help slow down the opposition that little bit more. We've got one of these, the Freighters, in here. It's just kind of in here because it's a 5 health body you can play out in space. Got a 3rd Entrench in here if you feel like you're playing a deck and you just need it to keep slowing it, attaching it to their unit, slow it down, or you want to attach it to your units, because I have sided this in before. It's in there. You've got a 3rd Spare the Target. Same sort of premise of if you want to slow the opposition down, you want to bounce more cards, use it just to help slow it down. We then got Vanquish, defeat a non-leader unit. You feel like you need more removal to slow them down again. And then we got 2 Look the Other Ways. This card is mainly when you're playing those really aggression decks. Normally this deck's quite good against them anyway, because of all the Sentinels. But if you feel like you need that little bit more of slowing them down, 0 cost card, exhaust a unit unless it controller plays 2, really makes them think, because more often than not they do actually end up paying the 2 and it really scuppers their plans. And then 2 Spark of Rebellions, that gives you your 3, the playset. Like I said, this when you play your control decks, your decks that want to stall you out as well, then just because they got their Rival Falls, they've got their Super Laser Blast, this allows you to snipe it out of their hands to really rescue your deck. So, final thoughts on the deck. I really, really like this deck. It's actually turned out a lot better than I thought it would, and it really, really can just run rampant if your opposition doesn't stop you, because lots of the times they see a Wookiee deck and they think, oh, well, this is going to be easy. All of a sudden you have a Chewbacca and Tarfal out, and they're like, this is an issue. So what's it good against? It's good against aggression, because it can, if you get the right cards, you can just keep sentineling and slowing them up. It's also quite good other mid-range decks, just because, we want to get to mid to late game. It's not very good against the control decks, as I explained throughout the deck. That's why you want your Spark of Rebellions in there, to try and snipe those cards out of your deck. It's not good against control, because obviously if you have a Chewbacca out there, he's kind of like your win the game with Tarfal, and they just go, okay, Super Laser Blast, and obliterate the entire board. You're kind of lost. Or if they just go Rivals Fall and defeat it instantly, then yeah. Give this deck a go. Let me know what you think about it. Oh, I've got an honourable mention for you for this deck. Wilderness Fighter. It's a 3 cost 2/4, but it comes out shielded. I really, really like that card, and I really wanted to put it into this deck, and I really did try it, but I was like, I was really thinking about it. But if you want to run that and give it a go, do it. It can, especially if you put Entrenched on it, it becomes a 5/7 with a shield. Ooh. So that's an honourable mention for you. If you run this deck, let me know what you think about it. If you want to make any changes or anything to it, let me know in the comments. I'll be intrigued to know. thank you for watching this video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. See ya.